out into the world. And the only way that's going to happen is if you are producing quality products. And I believe that's the way that you measure it. Right. It's by word of mouth and, just the customer feedback. Once you put your products out there, that customer feedback is going to come back, whether it's good or bad. So
absolutely. Especially with black-owned businesses.
You better believe it.
Y'all definitely going to tell how y'all feel.
Sure. You're going to hear about it, right?
As you should, though.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. And so wonderful. And I know that Chico, you just said something about, some overseas like manufacturing stuff. So let's talk a little bit about like suppliers and procurement. All right. So what have you learned about purchasing and procure? Oh my goodness.
It's expensive.
He learned. it's drop some knowledge on us about the supply and the procurement.
So you tell me how you feel about this. Like when I always have like young folks come up to me and be like, they want to start a business and automatically they want to go overseas, and I automatically say, nah, you're not ready for that.
No,
it's a different. Overseas is a different beast. It's a different beast, right? Because you're basically cutting soul, right? So they're basically they're making your product from scratch, right? So the thing is that you have to vet these manufacturers, because you don't know if you're going to get somebody that's going to scam you, right? So we always say, well, my rule of thumb is you always have to get a sample, and then I'm always going to do like a small order to see how that small order, and then just kind of build up the trust, because I've been burned. Right, I was just telling Mike that I found a new supplier and I wanted to get some sweatsuits done. I think I paid like $150 or $200 for some samples. Ghost, never heard from him again. So that money could have been put into something else, right? Sure. Marketing for Facebook marketing for an item that I already have. So you really have to be careful when you're dealing with the manufacturers overseas. But once you find one, you kind of stick to that. Yeah, you kind of stick with.
But that's just it. It's finding one. That's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of patience, and then of course it's going to take some money as well too. But you want to take that time to invest in a quality manufacturer. Again, everything comes back to integrity. So the work that you want to put out, you want to make sure the people that's producing it, is up to par. But a lot of times, like he said, a lot of people they see the end game first, so they want to jump out the gate, and go overseas right off the bat. But just starting out, you really don't have the means to do that, or more so, you don't have the means if that initial drop doesn't work and you put everything into it because you wanted to start off on the high end, right? Then you have nothing else to really fall back on. So I encourage people all the time to kind of take your time in terms of the amount of pieces that you're putting out, the options that you're given, because the more options you have, the less energy you can put into certain pieces, and that affects marketing as well too. So I'm all for, of course, outsourcing overseas, but you just got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for it.
Yeah. And just to add to that, right? Anybody that wants to start in the apparel business, I would say, first of all, before you even sell a piece, you got to sell the story behind.
Yep.
You hear how he said about how what the screw means and how it's connection, like that's a story. So the customer base has to believe in the story first, right? You're gonna have a couple folks that might buy just because they rock with you, right? But that's you can't sustain the business that way, right? So if they buy into the story, and then you might put out a couple pieces, and then you kind of just gradually build slowly, then you got something going, you got something cooking. Then if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And so now as we wrap up, we know that fashion isn't going anywhere, right?
Sure.
And so for anybody out there who's looking to get started, who haven't yet dipped their toe into the fashion industry waters, right? What advice would you give to someone who is thinking about it and just starting out?
Start. Right. To be honest, to start. And that's easier said than done. But if you are passionate about something, if it's the first thing that you think about when you wake up, it's the last thing you think about before you go to sleep, and all the time in between, then 9 times out of 10, this is what you should be doing. If it's your passion, I wholeheartedly believe that you can't fail when you are led by passion. I believe dreams are made by way of passion. So just start, and it's being consistent. Be prepared to take some L's. And by L's, I don't like to say losses. I like to call them lessons. So like with every loss, there's a lesson.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And that kind of makes the difference between those who make it and those who don't. Some people can take an L and say, "Oh, that's not for me. I got to go do something else." But really, that's a lesson. That's an opportunity for you to see where you went wrong,
and grow.
go back to the drawing board, and just grow, and just put your best foot forward and stick with it.
Right. I would suggest forget fashion. Let's just say just entrepreneurship, right? Everybody go to YouTube and watch the Steve Harvey video Jump, right? If you ever seen that, that was awesome because basically it talks about this, jumping off the cliff and starting whatever your passion is, whatever it's a business, service, whatever it is. You're never going to know what you can do or how big it can be if you don't just jump off the cliff. Yeah. Now, the analogy that he uses is that, you're going to hit a whole bunch of rocks.
For sure.
That's the lessons that he's talking about, right?
Sure.
Right? But it's going to come a time where it just comes together, right? Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm out and I see somebody in one of my hoodies and because we have 13 different HBCUs. So if I see somebody in a Dell State, one that I made, I'd be so damn proud. Yeah. I'd be so proud. I know you feel the same way.
It never gets old.
It never gets old. It never gets old.
I'm trying to see if I see somebody now walking past.
It never gets old. And even when folks come up to you, like I don't even know half these people. Like, aren't you the one that make the such and such? Yeah, that's me. That's me. So it just never gets old. But I would have never been able to even experience that if I would have just not said, you know what can I do to speak to my HBCU community, right? And that's really my passion. That's my passion. I actually wish it was more HBCU, it was more students in here now because I'm a lot older than y'all. I didn't have this opportunity when I was at Bowie State University. So to have this, Morgan, have you speak to entrepreneurs and talking about, how they got started, it's just a great opportunity to have. And I just thank Morgan for, allowing me to come in and speak to you.
Absolutely, me as well.
And we thank you. So can we all give it up? Can we all give it up? Can we give it up? Give it up, give it up. We are so thankful for you, Chico, for you, Mike, for coming out and sharing all of your knowledge and experience. If I can get that next slide. So we are going to be raffling off one of these nice sweatshirts. Yeah,
can I enter this as well?
Right there. Can you enter? Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to enter. I want one. So make sure that you scan this QR code so that you can get entered into the drawing to get one of these amazing, incredible sweatshirts. It's going to look real good on you. You're going to be repping one of our panelists.
Say it again. I'm going to hate it. Well, let me move my big head out there.
Okay. So what's going to happen is you'll be randomly selected through a drawing, and you'll receive an email saying that you won, if you did win, and we'll give you information on how to pick it up, how to get your sweatshirt to you, okay? All right. Yes. If there are any Morgan State University students in here who, go and scan that, get your extra credit. It's the end of the semester.
Oh, that's dope. Okay.
Get bumped up from an 89 to a 90,
Every point counts.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
Do you all have any questions for them? Social media, yes. How can we stay up to date with you?
Wait, thanks for reminding.
Yeah.
Right.
The things that need
Gainz,
answers.
So the it's Gainz, Gainz _sports gear. That's when you'll find out.
That's GAINZ _sports gear.
Morgan just approved. We have some dope basketball shorts that's getting ready to drop for y'all. They just approved them, so they're in production right now.
Good stuff.
Yeah, they dope. GAINZ sports gear _sports gear.
And then SKRUED.
Mine is SKRUED, SKRUED. That's SKRUED on Instagram, Facebook, website. And then for F My Anxiety is EFF My Anxiety. And that's again the same for Instagram, website, so forth and so on.
All right. Good. Thank you. So that concludes our fashion panel. If we don't have any other questions, we got any other questions? All right, good.